নেতাজি ওপেন ইউনিভার্সিটি ইংরেজি অনার্সের প্রথম পত্রের সেরা 100টি প্রশ্ন উত্তর। ভালো লাগলে লাইক, শেয়ার এবং সাবস্ক্রাইব করে পাশে থাকবেন। আমাদেরকে ফলো করার লিংক ডেসক্রিপশনে দেয়া থাকবে।
1. Who wrote the book of Philip Sparrow? Tons. John Skelton wrote the book of Philip Sparrow. 2. Who wrote the Morte d'Arthur? Is it in verse or prose? Tons. Sir Thomas Malory wrote the Morte d'Arthur. It is in prose. 3. What is Sir Thomas Wyatt famous for? Who else is associated with him in this? Tons. Sir Thomas Wyatt is famous for introducing the sonnet in England. The Earl of Surrey is associated with him. 4. Who wrote The Knight of the Burning Pestle? Tons. Beaumont Fletcher wrote The Knight of the Burning Pestle. 5. Mention 2 examples of the morality play. Tons. The examples of the morality play are Mankind and Everyman. 6. What is the name of the earliest regular English tragedy? Tons. The name of the earliest regular English tragedy is Gorboduc, afterwards called Ferrex and Porrex. Thomas Sackville and Thomas Norton wrote it. 7. Why is Holinshed famous? Tons. Holinshed is famous for his book Chronicles of England, Scotland and Ireland, upon which Shakespeare heavily drew for his English chronicles and tragedies such as Macbeth. 8. Who wrote Urn Burial? Is it in verse or prose? Tons. Sir Thomas Browne 1605-82 wrote Urn Burial Hydriotaphia. It is in prose. 9. Who is the author of the Hecatompoeia? To what literary type does it belong? Tons. Thomas Watson is the author of Hecatompoeia. It belongs to the sonnet. 10. In which year was Tottel's Miscellany published? Who was Tottel? Tons. Tottel's Miscellany was published in 1557. Tottel was a printer. 11. Who is the author of Rosalind? Which play of Shakespeare is based on it? Tons. Thomas Lodge is the author of Rosalind. Shakespeare's As You Like It is based on it. 12. What is the meaning of the word utopia? Tons. The word utopia means an imaginary ideal state of existence or place. 13. Nani, the Roman playwright who influenced Elizabethan revenge tragedy. Tons. Lucius Seneca was the Roman playwright who influenced Elizabethan revenge tragedy. 14. Name 2 long poems of Shakespeare. Tons. The 2 long poems of Shakespeare are Venus and Adonis and the Rape of Lucrece. 15. Who is the person referred to as the Fairy Queen by? Tons. Elizabeth, represented by Gloriana, the Queen of Fairyland, is the person referred to as the Fairy Queen. 16. Name 1 Roman tragedy of Shakespeare. Tons. Antony and Cleopatra is one of the Roman tragedies of Shakespeare. Other Roman tragedies of Shakespeare are Julius Caesar and Coriolanus. 17. In which play did Ben Jonson first introduce the concept of humors? Tons. Ben Jonson first introduced the concept of humors in Every Man in His Humors. 18. Name 1 Roman tragedy of Shakespeare. Tons. Antony and Cleopatra is one of the Roman tragedies of Shakespeare. 19. What is William Tyndale famous for? Tons. William Tyndale is famous for his translation of the New Testament 1525, which fixed a standard of good English. Tyndale made his translation from the original Greek. 20. Who wrote Amoretti? Tons. Edmund Spenser wrote Amoretti, 88 Petrarchan sonnets celebrating the progress of his love. 21. Give the year of birth of William Shakespeare. Tons. 1564. The 26th of April is the year of birth of William Shakespeare. 22. Give the name of the author of The Anatomy of Melancholy. Tons. Robert Burton 1577-1640 is the author of The Anatomy of Melancholy. 23. Who is the author of Piers the Plowman? Tons. William Langland is the author of Piers the Plowman. 24. Mention 2 major works of Chaucer's French period. Tons. 2 major works of Chaucer's French period are The Romaunt of the Rose, a translation from the French Roman de la Rose. 25. What is the first extant English comedy? Name the author. Tons. The first extant English comedy is Ralph Roister Duister 1551. The author's name is Nicholas Udall. 26. Name at least 2 leaders of the Protestant movement indicating the country they belong to. Tons. The 2 leaders of the Protestant movement were Martin Luther of Germany and John Wycliffe of England. 27. Who wrote Areopagitica? What does as plead for? Tons. John Milton wrote Areopagitica 1644. It pleads for the liberty of the press. 28. Name two pioneering translators of the Bible in the 16th century. Ans. The two pioneering translators of the Bible in the 16th century are William Tyndale (-1536) and Miles Coverdale (1488–1568). 29. What is the meaning of astrophal and stellar in the sonnet sequence of Sydney? How many sonnets are there in the sequence? Ans. The meaning of astrophal and stellar is a lover of the star and the star. Astrophal means a lover of the star and stellar, the star. There are 108 sonnets in the sequence. 30. In which year was the English theatre closed by an Act of Parliament? Ans. The English theatre was closed by an Act of Parliament in 1642. 31. Name three books translated by Alfred. Ans. The three books translated by Alfred are The Pastoral Care of Pope Gregory, The History of the World of Orosius, Bede's Ecclesiastical History of the English People. 32. In which Anglo-Saxon poem is a block of wood the speaker? Ans. A block of wood is the speaker in the Anglo-Saxon poem The Husband's Message. 33. Name the Anglo-Saxon poem that celebrates defeat in war. Ans. The Anglo-Saxon poem The Battle of Maldon 993 AD celebrates defeat in war. 34. Which Anglo-Saxon poet signed his verses in runic characters? Ans. The Anglo-Saxon poet, Cynewulf, signed his verses in runic characters. 35. Name three Anglo-Saxon poems in which the theme of love has been used. Ans. The three Anglo-Saxon poems in which the theme of love has been used are The Wife's Complaint, The Husband's Message, Wulf and Edwasser. 36. Who in the Old English period was transformed into a poet by divine inspiration? Ans. Seedman was transformed into a poet by divine inspiration in the Old English period. 37. Who is the author of Sermo Lupi ad Anglos? Ans. Wulfstan is the author of Sermo Lupi ad Anglos. 38. Name a poem other than Beowulf in which the heroic character persists. Ans. Walder is a poem other than Beowulf in which the heroic character persists. 39. Name the male monster Beowulf fought and defeated. Ans. Grendel is the male monster Beowulf fought and defeated. 40. Which Anglo-Saxon elegiac poem mourns the vanished glory of a city? Ans. The Ruined Burg. The Ruin is an Anglo-Saxon elegiac poem which mourns the vanished glory of a city. 41. Who translated the following into Old English? Pastoral Care, Ecclesiastical History. Ans. Alfred translated Pastoral Care and Ecclesiastical History. 42. Name two pioneers of English prose in the Anglo-Saxon period. Ans. Alfred and Aelfric are the two pioneers of English prose in the Anglo-Saxon period. 43. Name two elegiac poems of the Anglo-Saxon period. Ans. The Ruined Burg and The Wife's Complaint are the two elegiac poems of the Anglo-Saxon period. 44. What is the commonest measure in Anglo-Saxon poetry? Ans. The alliterative measure is the commonest measure in Anglo-Saxon poetry. 45. Name the legendary hero who is to the Englishman what Achilles is to the Greek, Romulus is to the Roman, Charlemagne is to the French. Ans. King Arthur is the legendary hero who is to the Englishman what Achilles is to the Greek, Romulus is to the Roman, and Charlemagne is to the French. 46. To which century did King Alfred belong? Name one of his prose works. Ans. King Alfred belonged to the 9th century. One of his prose works is the Anglo-Saxon Chronicle. 47. Give one example of a work written in alliterative verse during the Middle Ages. Ans. Pearl is an example of a work written in alliterative verse during the Middle Ages. Other examples: Sir Gawain and the Green Knight, Purity. 48. Who was Arthur? To which conchery did he belong? Ans. Arthur was a Celtic chieftain. He belonged to the 6th century. 49. What does the Matter of Britain deal with? Ans. The Matter of Britain deals with the exploits of Arthur, a Celtic chieftain of the 6th century, and his Knights of the Round Table. 50. In which Anglo-Saxon poem do we find the refrain? Ans. Dio's Lament is the Anglo-Saxon in which we find the use of refrain. 51. How does the word Norman originate? Ans. The word Norman is the softened form of Northman. 51. Which poem in the Middle English period extols the virtues of the ideal knight? Ans. Sir Gawain and the Green Knight is a poem in the Middle English period which extols the virtues of the ideal knight. 52. Name any two poems in medieval literature which are concerned with birds. Ans. The Owl and the Nightingale and the Parliament of Fowls are the two medieval poems which are concerned with birds. 53. Name one metrical romance and one alliterative romance of the Middle English period. Ans. Metrical romance, Arthur and Merlin. Alliterative romance, Cursa-Mundi. 54. What is the subject matter of Ancrine Rivale? Ans. The subject matter of Ancrine Rivale is the rules prescribed for ascetic life. 55. Name the poem which continues the narrative of Chaucer's Troilus and Chryside. Ans. Robert Henryson's The Testament of Cresseid continues the narrative of Chaucer's Troilus and Chryside. 56. Why is Geoffrey of Monmouth important in the history of the Middle English romances? Ans. Geoffrey of Monmouth is important in the history of the Middle English romances for his Latin history Roman Historia Regum Britanniae, which is the chief source book of the Arthurian romances. Monmouth's history was translated into Norman French by Wace. Vassar's translation Roman the Brute is turned done into English by Lyman in his Brute. 57. Name two Middle English Scottish poets who belonged to the school of Chaucer. Ans. Robert Henryson and William Dunbar were the two Middle English Scottish poets who belonged to the school of Chaucer. 58. Name a popular book of travels of the Middle Ages. Ans. The Travels of John Mandeville is a popular book of travels of the Middle Ages. 59. Who is the writer of the Four Ps? Ans. John Heywood is the writer of the Four Ps. 60. What is Chaucer's longest narrative poem? Ans. Troilus and Chryside 8,000 lines is Chaucer's longest narrative poem. 61. Name the Middle English prose work that prescribes rules for ascetic life. Ans. Ancrine Rivale is the Middle English prose work that prescribes rules for ascetic life. 62. Which famous poem in the Middle English period is a dream allegory? Ans. Pearl is a famous dream allegory in the Middle English period. 63. Name the medieval author who first translated the New Testament into English. Ans. John Wycliffe is the medieval author who first translated the New Testament into English. 64. Who wrote Confessio Amantis? Is it written in Latin or English? Ans. John Gower wrote Confessio Amantis. It is written in English. 65. Name two poems of the alliterative revival. Ans. Pearl and Patience are two poems of the alliterative revival. 66. Name the language which exerted the greatest influence on English literature after 1066. Ans. French was the language which exerted the greatest influence on English literature after 1066. 67. Name two religious poems of the Middle Ages. Ans. The Omulum and the Cursa-Mundi are the two religious poems of the Middle Ages. 68. Who wrote Historia Regum Britanniae? Ans. Geoffrey of Monmouth wrote Historia Regum Britanniae. 69. When did the Norman conquest take place? Ans. The Norman conquest took place in 1066 AD. 70. Give the names of the poems written by Chaucer during the French period. Ans. The names of the poems are The Romaunt of the Rose, The Book of the Duchess, The Complaint unto Pight, and ABC and the Complaint of Mass. 71. Which group of people was the first to arrive from the continent after the departure of Thay? Romans from Britain. Ans. Anglo, Saxon, Jutes. 72. In which year was the Battle of Hastings fought? Equals the 14th of October 1066 AD. 73. Into how many groups are the surviving remains of Old English literature generally divided? Equals 6 groups. 74. Why is the Battle of Maldon an important literary piece? Equals because the Battle of Maldon, Old English heroic poem describing a historical skirmish between East Saxons and Viking. 75. Of how many apostles' life stories does the Fates of the Apostles narrate? Equals 12. 76. Which is a text of the Matter of England within the corpus of Middle English romances? Equals the development of Middle English romance. 77. The 4pp is an interlude written by whom? Equals John Heywood. 78. In the Old English epic, whose son is Beowulf? Equals Ecdo. 79. Against which backdrop is Geoffrey Chaucer's Troilus and Chryseids set? Equals Troilus and Chryseids set against a backdrop of war during the siege of Troy. 80. In the prologue to the Canterbury Tales, Chaucer presents three ideal characters on the pilgrimage. Who are they? Equals the knight, the clerk, the ploughman. 81. To which cycle does the second shepherd's play belong? Equals Wakefield cycle. 82. What do place names ending with suffixes like Thorpe, Beck, and Dale mean? Equals Thorpe meant farms, Beck meant brook, Dale meant valley. 83. What did the word bloom mean in Old English? Equals bloom, which came from Old English bloma, meaning lump of metal, means rough mass of wrought iron. 84. What does the term Anglo-Norman refer to? Equals the term Anglo-Saxon refers to the settlers from the German regions of Angalen and Saxony, who made their way over to Britain after the fall of the Roman Empire around AD 410. Anglo-Saxon. From the 5th century say to the time of the Norman conquest 1066 they inhabited and ruled territories that are today part of England and Wales. 85. From which languages do the words breakfast and dinner derive? Equals Old French. 86. When did the French word limousine enter the English vocabulary? Equals in the beginning of the war. 87. What does the Latin word pauper mean in English? Equals people. 88. In which period was the word custody borrowed into English? Equals 0 period. 89. Approximately how many words did Shakespeare's vocabulary consist of according to Otto Jesperson? Equals 5,008,000 words. 90. I have no mind for feasting forth tonight, whose utterance is this? Equals Shylock. 91. Who had to die for having translated the Bible? Equals William Tyndale. 92. Who was the first person to translate the entire Bible into English? Equals John Wycliffe. 93. In which year was the authorized version of the Bible published? Equals 1611. 94. What does the Greek word phone mean? Equals voice, sound. 25. Into how many branches can the study of phonetics be divided? Equals 3. 96. Where in the human physiognomy is the larynx situated? Equals the larynx is a cartilaginous segment of the respiratory tract located in the anterior aspect of the neck. 97. Of which organ is the blade a part? Equals the expanded part of a leaf or petal. Especially a leaf of grass or the broad portion of a leaf is distinct from the petiole. 98. What kind of plosive is the word tub? Equals alveolar plosive. 99. How many cardinal vowels did the English phonetician Daniel Jones devise? Equals 8 vowels. 100. On what is a pun is a figure of speech based? Equals a pun is a joke based on the interplay of homophones, words with the same pronunciation but different meanings. It can also play with words that sound similar, but not exactly the same. The joke's humor, if any, comes from the confusion of the two meanings.